All right, I was gone for a week, and I came back, and there was all these new stories from around the world, around the weed world. Um, let's just start right off with Nebraska. Medical marijuana will get another chance in the Nebraska legislature. It's one of a handful of states, a list that includes South Dakota, Kansas, Indiana, and West Virginia, that prohibits all forms of medical cannabis. 28 states offer comprehensive medical marijuana programs, while 15 others allow people with certain conditions to use a form of the plant low in THC, the compound that produces the high, as we're all familiar with, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. State Senator Anna Weisart, a freshman lawmaker from Lincoln, said she will introduce a comprehensive medical marijuana bill this session. The proposal is still being drafted, she said, but it will be similar to the one that came within 3 votes of advancing last year. Smoking Golden Goat today. It's early in the day. I usually don't do clips in the early part of the day, but I've been working on this one for 3 days now. I just want to get it done. So like the article just said, if you look at this map, pretty clear that most of the country, you can at least get some CBD for your kid that has seizures. But like Nebraska, Idaho, and a few others, that's just not the case in all states. So the ones that are white, obviously, they don't have any laws yet. In Nebraska, advocates for medical marijuana outside the state capital say they will get behind the Nebraska bill, but they didn't sound optimistic. They know the measures likely would need 33 votes to overcome a filibuster and almost certainly would be vetoed if it reached the desk of Governor Pete Ricketts. The measure came close last year, with 30 of 49 lawmakers voted to end a filibuster that ultimately killed it for the year. That's 3 votes shy of a supermajority needed to halt the stall tactic, but comfortably more than the 25 votes needed to advance the bill. 10 of those supporters, however, no longer serve in the one House legislature because of the term limits or a failed re-election bid. Supporters of the measure will need the help of conservatives if they have any chance to reach the 33-vote plateau needed to break a filibuster that awaits the bill if it makes it to the floor. Senator Matt Williams of Gothenburg, who led the opposition last year, said his views hasn't changed. Quote, "It sends our state in the wrong direction," Williams said, adding that he is most concerned about keeping the drug out of the hands of children. Well, you dumbass, stupid son of a bitch. Senator Williams, you are a fucking idiot. That's all I'm going to say anymore, because we already know why. Everywhere where marijuana has been legalized in any way, shape, or form, teen use has gone down. So this is just it's just stupidity continuing to masquerade itself around as, concern for your children. It's not concern for your children. Concern for your children would not be locking them up every time you fucking find a bag of weed on them. But you're not concerned about that. You're a piece of shit, and we're fucking sick of you. And people are really around the country they're looking at actually participating in politics now. So your days are fucking numbered. Weishart, the senator who will sponsor the measure, said during the door-to-door campaigning, she was surprised by the number of people in her Southwest Lincoln district who expressed support for medical marijuana. Duh. 65 to 80% of America supports medical marijuana, man. So everywhere, everybody, unless you live under a rock and don't fucking pay attention to anything, everybody knows that medical marijuana should be legalized. All right. In many cases, supporters suffer from serious affliction and have loved ones who do. Yeah, well, it doesn't even take that anymore, man. People just has to see that the propaganda really isn't true. Quote, "There are people desperate and in need," she said. "I can guarantee you that they're in every single senator's district." Yeah, I promise she's right. While some states allow their residents to grow the plants and smoke the drug, Weishart and her bill would not allow smoking or cultivation of marijuana, which is fucking stupid. Again, all right, the senator said she will work to ally the concerns of her colleagues who might oppose the concept. Weishart, whose husband is a police officer, said she also plans to seek input from law enforcement leaders, I should say. Well, don't, all right? This week, Republicans and the officially nonpartisan legislature voted to elect nearly all conservatives for committee leadership posts. Yet past floor debates have shown that support for medical marijuana cuts across partisan lines, with Republicans casting more than half of the votes for the bill the last 2 years. That's no guarantee that it's going to continue that way, but like I said, in some of these places like Nebraska and maybe down in the where the blue dog Democrats are down south, whatever, man, they're still right-wingers, all right? It doesn't matter if they have a D next to their name. They still believe in conservative politics, and when conservative politics plays into it, they don't want to legalize marijuana for any fucking reason, guys. Wake up. Prove to me that they do. Show me a situation where a conservative says, let's legalize marijuana for any fucking reason. It doesn't happen, man. But best of the wishes to you. Marijuana Policy Project would prefer to see a bill passed by elected officials rather than to have to launch a time-consuming petition drive and advertising campaign that could run into the millions of dollars, said Matt Schweik, the group's director of state campaigns. He also argued that Nebraska lawmakers need to recognize the national trend and consider whether they want to craft medical marijuana legislation for their constituents or allow advocates and activists to come up with the ballot language. If lawmakers don't act, the national group is very seriously considering a ballot initiative in Nebraska in 2018, Schweik said. Quote, it's going to be a public policy in Nebraska at some time in the future. I hope the legislators see that. And yes, Nebraska, and yes, all you other places that doesn't have any medical marijuana allowance at all, you know, get out of the Stone Age, man. You guys are doing a huge disservice to people suffering in your state. And the fact that you don't care about that, the fact that you only care about your donors' fucking wishes, it's painfully obvious, and you're gonna pay for that shit. Opponents often say that medical cannabis is about building a foundation for the subsequent legalization of recreational marijuana. Who fucking cares? But no, that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to fucking get medical marijuana passed in Nebraska. That's what we're trying to do. Kevin Sabat, president of an organization called Smart Approaches to Marijuana, said as much in reaction to the statement about Nebraska by the Marijuana Policy Project. Now, Kevin Sabat is a piece of shit. He's a professional prohibitionist. He got caught with an ounce of medibles. Didn't even get a ticket. So I don't have a fucking clue why this guy still has a platform or why articles like this try to still get opinions from him. I'm not going to give him the time of fucking day. You know why? Fuck him. There you go, Kevin Sabat. Hey, Kevin Sabat, you want to fucking debate me any fucking day of the week, man? You're a piece of shit. Your organization's never been anything but a sham. You're a fucking drug addict. You should be for marijuana legalization, not against it, because marijuana legalization can help drug addicts like you, not like you say, I don't even know what. You have nothing. You got nothing but old propaganda that's so dusty that you can't even read it. So fuck you, Kevin Sabat. Fuck you, prohibitionists. Good luck, Nebraska. All right. Federal medical marijuana protections could get short extension. Just a side effect of the shitty government we have never being able to fucking figure out how to fund itself. So they're going to put up this temporary federal spending bill as a stopgap to make sure that there's always funding for the federal government. And this rider... This also includes the rider that bans the Justice Department from using funds to prevent medical marijuana states from implementing their own laws. Federal lawmakers' push for a short-term spending bill may result in protections for medical marijuana states, continuing at least through the first quarter of 2018. An extension of the funding bill to keep the government operational, currently slated to expire on December 9th, could also extend policy riders such as Section 542 of the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2016, which states that no funds be used to prevent any legal medical marijuana states from implementing their laws. Marijuana.com reported in August, a federal court ruled over Justice Department objections that the provision doesn't merely block the U.S. government from stopping states from passing their own medical marijuana laws, but also prevents federal prosecutors from going after patients and providers who are operating in accordance with those local policies. But the three-judge panel of the U.S. Court of Appeals in the Ninth Circuit made it clear that the protections provide only temporary relief. Advocates began 2016 feeling confident they'd be able to enact an amendment again. After all, huge bipartisan majorities of House representatives are on record in support. In 2014, the measure passed 219 to 189. Last year, the margin of victory grew to 242 to 186. And this year's Senate Appropriation Committee approved the amendment by a vote of 21 to 8. So as long as that rider's there, and as long as they haven't really put together a real budget, it looks like this thing's going to keep on living. It's unclear what actions, if any, the new administration might take towards existing medical marijuana or recreational marijuana laws in the U.S. Well, we heard Trump. He said he was for states' rights on recreational. He said medical marijuana is good, right? That's the last thing I heard him say. I still haven't heard. I'm still waiting on the follow-up. I don't know if Sessions is a thing yet or not. But as we covered the first month of 2017, we can't forget that Sessions was, going to become our top cop of the land, and the subsequent protests that happened, anywhere from people crashing his offices to the 4,200 plus joints that were passed around and lit up on Inauguration Day and all that. But as the story goes, Sessions might end up being the Attorney General still, and I guess it's just a patience game to see what's going to happen. Legal challenges filed against the DEA's new marijuana extracts rule. Denver's Hoban Law Group, representing the Hemp Industries Association, Centuria National Foods, and RMH Holdings, LLC, on Friday filed a judicial review action against the U.S. DEA, alleging the agency overstepped its bounds when enacting a rule establishing coding for marijuana derivatives such as cannabidiol and oil, CBD. The action, Hoban attorney alleges, puts at risk a booming cannabis and hemp industry and a wide variety of hemp-based products currently on the market. We're talking about jobs in the economy and agricultural revival. Attorney Bob Hoban said in an interview with The Cannabist on Friday. Now, like I've been saying all along, this whole thing that the DEA did, people are looking into it too much. They're blowing it way out of proportion. They're making it sound like something that it ain't. DEA officials said the code number would assist the tracking materials for research and would aid in complying with treaty provisions. However, compliance attorney Hoban and others expressed concern at the time that the language could result in federal agencies viewing products produced from marijuana and hemp as illegal. Like I said then, and I think they're about to say it too, the DEA always said that all that shit was illegal, Schedule 1, blah, blah, blah. Nothing new here. Yeah, of course it might, the language could result in federal agencies viewing products. No, they already do think that the products are all illegal. That needs to change. Congress needs to do it. According to the lawsuit, quote, additionally, the final rule creates the new drug code indicative of being a controlled substance, because it is. Anything that you can, when you look at their definition of a marijuana plant, the feds, the roots, the seeds, the stems, a leaf, anything that comes from the fucking plant is Schedule 1. So this, I don't know if these guys are wasting their time or what, man, but it seems to me like a big fucking waste of time. I mean, what are you going to do? Make the DEA retract their little number they invented? I mean, it doesn't really matter. They're going to do what they're going to do. In that new thing that they wrote, there isn't nothing new, no new call to action for enforcing laws. There's no new, like, hey, we're going to bust everybody with CBD in their possession. And there wasn't no overstepping of the FDA's fucking handling of hemp-based CBD products. So all this shit seems unnecessary to me, man. Further, the final rule overbroadly defines marijuana extract without reflecting the certain portions or varieties of the genus Cannabis sativa L and are congressionally exempted from the CSA and are exempted from treated as controlled substance altogether pursuant to the relevant laws as enacted by Congress. I don't even know if that's true. Because like I just said, the DEA has always considered every little part of the plant a Schedule 1 narcotic. So it's not that this rule overbroadly defines marijuana extract. It just says, okay, you have a marijuana extract. That's still what we call Schedule 1. It's not like they made some new thing up, and it's not like they put a bunch of money behind a bunch of enforcement or anything like that. And, quote, the new rule certainly has caused quite a chill in the marketplace over the last 3 or 4 weeks, Hoban said. Now, that I do sympathize with him for that. Adding that he's heard from producers who have trouble keeping their products on e-commerce or retailer platforms. The number of calls we get on a daily basis you couldn't even quantify. This is indicative to me of an environment where people are scared, they're nervous. So that I agree with. We need clarification. We need the DEA to make a loud statement. Hey, no, we're not coming after sick people. If they don't do that, then people still have the right to fear that, maybe that's what they're fucking thinking about doing. Like one day they're just going to wake up and rubber stamp a bunch of, raids and shit. We don't know what's going to happen. So it's some kind of a preemptive action. We need to throw a preemptive action back at it. So, I agree with that approach. And here, I'm not going to read this, but here it is. This is the fucking DEA and what they've always thought about marijuana and hemp extracts. Here's your marijuana on top, and below you have your hemp extracts. Now, I don't really agree with the hemp one too much because it says the Farm Bill did not remove industrial hemp from its list of controlled substances, and certainly limited exceptions. The requirement for the Federal Food and Drug and Cosmetic Act and the CSA continue to apply to industrial hemp-related activities. So again, like I said, just because somebody somewhere along the line, and certainly the Farm Bill reaffirming this, has designated a difference between hemp and cannabis sativa in the whole genus of plants or whatever, that's one thing. But like I keep stressing, the DEA has always said that any marijuana plant, be it hemp, be it cannabis, be it whatever, they're all Schedule 1. They're all marijuana with a H. They're all illegal to them. So whether you have an extract that was derived from hemp or marijuana, to them, it's all the same thing. That's the shit we need to change, people. You need to change that. And you're not going to get the DEA to bend over and say, okay, we're not going to enforce that because, common sense. No, they're working for people that pay them money to keep doing what they do. And you're not doing that. So, we got to change the laws. What else? Texas lawmakers consider reforming marijuana laws. This is for you right-wingers out there that keep bothering me about, oh, Republicans are more awesome than Democrats and blah, blah, blah. You know what? Neither of them are awesome. They're both pieces of shit. They're both fucking corrupt as hell. None of them want to legalize marijuana tomorrow anywhere. So quit giving me that fucking horse shit, all right? Libertarians are a fucking joke too, man. Name one fucking law they ever changed. All right, so yeah, Gary Johnson was a fucking, a governor twice or some shit? What did he fucking do there? He didn't even decriminalize when he was at the helm. Maybe he did. I don't remember. It was New Mexico. He had the opportunity to do a lot. Didn't do shit. And it wasn't for libertarian reasons that he didn't do it either. So don't give me that horse shit either. Several bills filed by Texas lawmakers will decriminalize marijuana in that state, or at least allow it for medical reasons. Maybe that's backwards, but, quote, I believe Texas is a tipping point where we're seeing the rest of the country having a sensible marijuana policy, says Sean McAllister of Arlington, the leader of DFW NORML, a national organization of reform of marijuana laws. But critics, like recently retired Texas Department of Public Safety Narcotics Agency Corky Schalklin of Frisco, didn't see any changes coming. Quote, I don't think it has the legs in Texas to stand. We go through this every couple years with the legislator. Yeah, that's what I keep saying. Not really. This is just kind of a fresh thing, especially the decriminalization, which is the most realistic goal they have, which I think might be able to actually get through this crazy Texas bullshit. But this year, Texas lawmakers have pre-filed several bills. One would allow voters to decide on legalizing medical marijuana, and lawmakers 2 years ago legalized a small amount of cannabis oil, but only for people with severe form of epilepsy. It's better than Nebraska, I guess. Another bill would decriminalize small amounts of marijuana altogether, changing it from a misdemeanor to a civil penalty, like a traffic ticket. Quote, I believe after this session we will stop putting people in cages for possessing small amounts of this, McAllister said. I also believe doctors will be able to recommend, not prescribe, but recommend marijuana as a medicine to patients. Schocklin said there's no solid evidence that marijuana is really a medicine, adding that decriminalizing it would also be a mistake. Now, you see, that's just fucking dumb and dumber. First of all, you're completely fucking wrong. Marijuana is medicine. There's more fucking scientific papers to back that up than any other medicine you can point to, you fucking asshole. So, hey, Texas, your fucking Republicans are still so stupid, they can't even fucking read anything other than a Bible verse. So shut the fuck up about how you right-wingers are, oh, we want to legalize marijuana more than the Democrats. You know, I don't give a fuck about the Democrats. I'm not a Democrat. Quit acting like I give a fucking fuck about what the Democrats do. They don't do shit for me. So I don't care about the Democrats or the liberals or the fucking whatever you call them. All right? I care about marijuana law, period. And Republicans in Texas are the last fucking things that are going to legalize it. So shut the fuck up. You hear this guy? He sounds like he's from the 1890s. Because he fucking is. All you fucking idiots in Texas are, man. Wake the fuck up. Write your goddamn congressman. Tell them marijuana is medicine. Who is this guy? Shacklin? Write that stupid motherfucker. Don't bitch at me because you think I'm a lefty libtard. Bitch at him because he's a fucking idiot that don't know what the fuck he's talking about. And he says, are you going to have a doctor show up to surgery who's been smoking it? Or a nurse, a fireman, he asked. Yeah, sure, why not? Doctors are already leaving fucking scalpels and shit inside people's fucking wounds and hemostats. How many times have you read about hemostats being found inside someone after surgery? And I guarantee you that fucking doctor wasn't smoking weed. He said if you legalize it, you're going to have police officers out there carrying a gun that have been smoking. Hopefully, then maybe they'll be a little bit more relaxed and not shoot at everything that fucking moves. Just, you know, these arguments are as old as the fucking, the stupid star that is on the stupid Texas flag. It's old and it's stupid. You're not the lone star state. You're not the only state in the union. You're part of this big ass thing called the United States of America. Why don't you fucking act like it? Like, first of all, we don't use that old propaganda called reefer madness anymore, man. Some experts say socially conservative Texas isn't quite ready to jump on the national trend just yet. And I'm one of those experts, believe me. I just hope you guys decriminalize because I'm sick of hearing people going to jail for 10 years for a fucking seed in their ashtray. Quote, I wouldn't hold your breath on it passing this year, said Bob Garrett, an Austin-based reporter from the Dallas Morning News. And I remember him saying that 5 years ago, too. And it's probably going to be the same thing he says in 5 more years. He said, but momentum has slowly been building, I think, towards a legalization push. Well, you know what the push means? The push means you, Texas residents, need to get on the phone and call your state reps. Call your governor's office. Call these people in the fucking state senate. Talk to them. They respond to that. That's the push he's talking about. He's not talking about the media. The media ain't going to push right-wing fucking Republicans in Texas into moving on marijuana laws. The only people that's going to push them is you, Texas. So get off your ass. If you want this shit, you got to fucking make a phone call. All right? You know how we got this shit in Michigan? We went out on the streets and petitioned the fuck out of that shit for years until we finally got our ballots in for medical marijuana. And then we went and voted for that shit. That's a lot of work. All you got to do is pick up a phone and make a call. But, there's another push too. It's called people are just getting sick of enforcing these stupid, archaic fucking laws. Just like last week in Harris County, a new district attorney announced she would no longer put people in jail who were caught with small amounts of pot. And that's a national trend, and that's an international trend, as is medical marijuana, because people know that the government's been lying to you all along. And I thought my friends in Texas were that, the people that knew that the government was lying to you all along, but somehow you keep believing everything that the government tells you over there. You need to stop. You need to call the fucking people that run your government and tell them that this shit is medicine and that you want it available for all your sick people. What else do we got here, man? Another bid to take down the Colorado marijuana laws. Oh, Jesus. Also, this is Republican-led, believe me. Another thing I seen, and I don't think I covered it in this, I don't have it on slides, but it's another Republican thing. Yeah, it is. Was it Arkansas? I want to say it was either Arkansas or Kentucky, one of those places where they just passed medical marijuana. Yeah, the state legislators in there trying to gut that. And North Dakota as well. So you have North Dakota, Arkansas, and Kentucky. They just all passed some medical marijuana laws. The people voted overwhelmingly for them. And the fucking state legislator is busy fucking writing laws that they're trying to pass that will totally neuter every one of those laws. It will bring them laws to their knees and make it so you're about to get arrested again if you try to use medical marijuana. Isn't that fucking lovely? That's Republicans, man. So I don't know if I should change the name of this video to, hey, guess what? Republicans are fucking for prohibition. That's what I've been saying since the damn first video I made. And I ain't changed my mind yet. So, this is the same dipshits in Oklahoma and Nebraska that they tried to sue Colorado before, and that shit got thrown the fuck out. Federal appeals court judges on Tuesday reviewed the reach of racketeering laws, chewed over case law, and opined over olfactory issues in a case that threatens to stamp out Colorado's recreational marijuana industry. Now, that wording was pretty swift. That was by the writer Alicia Wallace of the Cannabis. And I, especially in this segment, I've done a lot of videos where I've read her copy, and it's good stuff. That was great. Let's read that again. Federal appeals court judges on Tuesday reviewed the reach of racketeering laws, chewed over case law, and opined over olfactory issues in a case that threatens to stamp out Colorado's recreational marijuana industry. A three-judge panel for the 10th Circuit Court, U.S. of Appeals in Denver took oral arguments in a consolidated case that claims Colorado's recreational cannabis laws fly in the face of federal controlled substances and racketeering laws. The states of Nebraska and Oklahoma joined the dispute after the U.S. Supreme Court declined to hear their case. The appeals also included a lawsuit from county sheriffs and others, and another from a Pueblo horse ranch. The plaintiffs' challenges were among several raised after 2014, when Colorado's first of its kind foray into regulated sales of cannabis didn't sit well with all, especially neighboring states concerned about federally illicit substances spilling over their borders. Those complaints, and of course the Nebraska-Oklahoma suit, were eventually struck down. On Tuesday morning, in a crowded small upstairs courtroom in Byron White U.S. Courthouse in downtown Denver, attorneys and judges reviewed the reach of RICO and other federal acts and the impacts of marijuana cultivation on nearby properties. Quote, I went into the courtroom thinking this was a slam dunk. Matthew W. Buck, an attorney representing a half dozen marijuana businesses named in the suits, said in an interview Tuesday afternoon, quote, and I came out of it thinking it would be more of a toss-up. Uh-oh. So yeah, we remember that the judges aligned with the plaintiffs. This time, the judges seemed to align with the plaintiffs' arguments that the wafting smell of federally illegal marijuana from Pueblo cultivation facility to neighboring properties such as a horse ranch damaged property values. Yeah, because horse shit isn't bad enough. Then when the weed smell comes whiffing in, then that's when people are like, oh, I don't want to buy this property. It don't smell horse shitty enough. I mean, fucking seriously, man. Quote, if this case were remanded to a district court, it would effectively open the floodgates for every single dispensary and every single cultivation facility to be sued under federal court for RICO. RICO is for racketeering, man. Just because you have a dispensary in Colorado and someone buys some fucking weed and then they drive it over to Oklahoma or some shit, that doesn't fucking mean that the goddamn dispensary is part of some kind of a criminal fucking enterprise selling weed in your fucking town. You know the best way to solve that problem, you dumb motherfucker? Legalize marijuana in your town. The Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, oft used as an implication of crime families and fraudulent financiers, also allows for private individuals to sue racketeers who allegedly damage a business or property, in this case, property values. With RICO, the heart of its complaint, the entity backing the Pueblo County Horse Ranch also argued that the federal prohibition of marijuana oversees state law. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's beautiful. Right-wingers, they always fucking love states' rights. They want states' rights to always be on your side until they don't. And then they're like, hey, that's against federal law. Well, no, it doesn't seem to matter to you in your, like your Bundy, Cliven Bundy and his situation. Did you think that states' rights should be trumped by federal rights in that case? Quote, Colorado is authorizing violation of the U.S. Controlled Substances Act through this licensing regime, Brian Barnes, an attorney for the plaintiff Safe Streets Alliance, told the judge Tuesday. Safe Streets, a Washington, D.C.-based anti-drug and anti-crime organization, took up the cause of the Southern Colorado horse ranchers. And basically asked by Judge Harris Hartz as to whether a change in enforcement policy on the federal level, perhaps from the U.S. Attorney General, would solve his concerns. Barnes said he would welcome such a change, but added it would be a bank shot enforcement action against a third party and would not get in the heart and would not get at the heart of state laws that stand in opposition to federal laws. So you're just like, yeah, I don't really want to use the feds because I want Colorado to just change their laws. That's what he really wants. You don't want the feds to come in and crack down because then they'll just start right back up again because it's not against state law. Well, that's ridiculous. Hartz later questioned Barnes and the need for more enforcement beyond the mechanics already in place through federal law or actions such as a 2013 Cole memo that set the guidelines for federal prosecutors in states where legalized marijuana. State laws regulating the sales of marijuana, Hartz noted, could, in effect, be a means of enforcement. It could be. In fact, you could just make laws in your state to enforce marijuana instead of just have it, willy-nilly, we're going to enforce federal law. Well, why don't you make laws in your state? That would make more sense. Quote, how do you decide where to draw the line of authorizing and limiting pot and encouraging it? Hartz asked. That's the stupidest question I ever fucking heard of. Do you ask that about alcohol? What about fucking chicken McNuggets? What about fucking, I don't know, anything else? Do you care about anything else? Why do you care about limiting pot? What's the fucking big deal? Authorizing it, saying, yeah, it's okay. What's the deal about limiting it? You don't limit liquor. Liquor can fucking kill you. You can just drink too much of it. If this was all liquor right here and I drank this, I would be dead. There would be no way that you could revive me. I would fucking die before you even knew what I did. Fortunately, I don't drink liquor. This is iced tea. But this guy is acting like if you don't limit pot, what? Matthew Grove, Assistant Attorney General for the state of Colorado, says his state's regulations are not preempted by federal law. Thank you very much. A decision from the 10th Circuit panel could take months, case attorneys and legal experts say. But don't expect them to come back in favor of these horse ranchers people, because this is the most absurd bullshit I ever heard of. The appeals court judges shoot down the appeal, came and said he believes a push to the U.S. Supreme Court would be unlikely. I'm sorry. That likely would be the end of these legal challenges for the foreseeable future, and we'll all be very relieved when you quit wasting our fucking time with this shit. The state's anti-legalization effort stretches back to December 2014, nearly 1 year into Colorado's recreational marijuana sales. The states argued that they had to shell out more money because of a spike in marijuana arrests, vehicle impoundments, drug seizures, and prisoner transfers. You know, if you just admitted that all that shit costs money and it's a pain in your ass, why don't you legalize marijuana in your state and you'll have less of that anyway? You know, not just from the Colorado traffic, but just from people in your fucking state that smoke marijuana anyway. You act like just because Colorado is right there, that's why people smoke marijuana in your state. That couldn't be farther from the truth. Marijuana smoking just exists in all populations and known history of the world, of every fucking continent, every country, every city, every state. And it's always right around between 10 and 30% of the fucking population smoke it. So, you know, it doesn't matter if you have a fucking legalized Mecca right next door to your state, dude. People are going to buy, sell, grow, smoke marijuana. Get used to it, man. Quote, this contraband has been heavily trafficked into our state. Always. And you know, before Colorado was doing it, guess who was doing it before that? Nebraska. Guess who it was? It was the Mexican drug cartels that cut people's fucking heads off. All right, so thank God that's over with, right? That was the Attorney General of Nebraska, John Bruning, who said at the time, that was back in 2014, according to a report in the Omaha World Herald. Quote, while Colorado reaps millions from the production and sale of pot, Nebraska taxpayers have to bear the cost. Again, simple solution, legalize fucking marijuana. And then you'll not only have to worry about all these stupid costs that you're incurring and arresting people all the time, which we've been saying all along. The state will save money by not fucking having to worry about jailing people. Are you fucking trying to babysit someone because they smoke pot? You're going to babysit them for years and feed them, house them, clothe them, give them meds? That's fucking pretty nice of you, man, but it's fucking unnecessary. Potheads are self-sufficient people, man. We can take care of our own fucking whatever, you know? So anyway, yeah, legalize that shit and your taxpayers will be happy as fuck. Nebraska. You don't even have a fucking CBD law, man. You're the most cruel and unusual government in the whole country. In the months that followed, Colorado's marijuana laws were the target of several other suits, including disputes by county sheriffs, Pueblo County horse ranchers, and a hotel owner in the mountain town of Frisco. The cases involving the Pueblo horse ranchers and the county sheriffs advanced to the appellate court. The suit at the hotel owner was dismissed after a settlement. Yeah, that's usually all it takes, is to throw a little bit of money their way. In the case of these cops and crooked politicians, you're never going to make them change their minds. What else you got? Legalization of marijuana oil resurfaces in the state legislature. So once again, we have another state, Wisconsin, where you can't even fucking get your hands on this CBD oil. Well, anyway, lawmakers are reviving a proposal that would legalize an oil derived from marijuana plants. The proposal would increase access to cannabidiol, also known as CBD oil, by making changes to the state law that governs the oil, which has been used to treat medical conditions, including seizure disorders in children. In 2014, lawmakers passed a bill named Lindsay's Law, which made it of the oil available to certain populations. No, it did not. It just said you couldn't get arrested for it. It didn't provide anybody with any oil. Okay, so however, some patients have said that it's difficult to access the oil because the current law requires FDA approval for prescriptions. So there was a miswording there, obviously. Lydia's Law did not fucking allow anybody to have oil. It didn't provide anybody with oil. It didn't provide manufacturer, distribution, or anything else of the oil. All it said was, is if you happen to get caught with the fucking oil and you were using it for medical purposes, then you're okay. That's it. New proposal would make it legal for people to possess the oil in Wisconsin as long as the doctor had signed off on it. So now you're here. Now you're bringing doctors into it. This is ridiculous, man. We don't need doctors to be brought into it. If your child is having seizures, that's demonstratable. The doctor you already have can be like, sure, why fucking not use something that works? You need to get something like in the way of distribution, man. Anyway, quote, Wisconsin needs to fix this mistake, said Sally Schaefer, whose daughter was the namesake of Lydia's law. Quote, no smoke and mirrors anymore, no loopholes. We need to fix it. Give people what you promised them 3 years ago when Lydia's law was enacted. Because meanwhile, there's people that are having seizures every fucking minute of the day, man. Hundreds of them a day. And these people, they're kids. They're little kids. And some of these grandmas can kill these little kids. And you not letting people have access to this fucking oil that stops these seizures instantly, you are a cruel piece of fucking shit. Senator Van Wangard, Republican from Racine, echoed those sentiments. Quote, unfortunately, despite the legislator's best intention, we found Lydia's law to be ineffective. Duh, because you wrote it that way. It wasn't a law written out of fucking like anybody thinking it out. It was a law because someone got arrested. So you wrote a law to make it so they couldn't get arrested. No compassion at all there, man. That's just a reactionary thing. That's like Obama letting somebody out of prison that's been there for 30 years because they got fucking life for a hit of LSD or something. Come on. That's not compassion. That's like fucking, like, whoa, what were you waiting for? First of all, why'd you wait to the last minute? Second of all, change the fucking law so no one else has to deal with that. Wangard, who is a co-sponsoring the legislation with Representative Scott Krug, Republican, Nakusa, stressed the bill would not legalize the manufacture or sale of CBD oil in Wisconsin, but simply prevent prosecution of possessing it. Isn't that the same fucking thing that Lydia's law already does? Since then, legislators who opposed that bill have said they are on board with the new proposal. How'd you oppose the original bill in the first place, man? The bill is scheduled for Senate committee vote on Thursday. I don't know if that happened or not. I don't even know what day it is, guys. Like I said, I got back from my vacation and I've been working on this video for 3 days straight. Any of these updates that matter, I'll make individual clips for, I guarantee it. And this is the last time I will torture you with a fucking hour-long update. Rhode Island. Lawmakers want to legalize recreational marijuana. And so does Maryland, too. So we have competing states on the East Coast. And, hey, for you right-winger in Texas, sorry, I forgot to mention you. Yeah, we got a right-winger in Texas and the legislator trying to do it, too. Good luck with that. But anyway, so we have 2 states competing to be the first to have legislatively made recreational marijuana legal. Now, my guess is you're going to have more people that aren't recreational already trying this shit within the next couple of years because, to be honest, they're going to want to have a program that they wrote. They don't want the program that I wrote. They don't want the program that My Legalize wrote. They don't want the program that, you know, MPP crafted from years and years of research and the best possible fucking approaches to this shit in that particular state. They don't want none of that. They are going to want their shit and they're going to fucking write it. And here we have Rhode Island announcing Wednesday that they will try to legalize pot again. And this is a couple weeks old. Like I said, this is January summary, so all this shit happened this month. You might have already heard about it. I'm just giving you my little take on it. But for the 7th consecutive year, lawmakers will introduce a bill that would allow adults to consume marijuana recreationally. Meanwhile, Rhode Island has never really pulled anything else out of their hat. But advocates are hopeful that the proposal might finally get a vote this time, in part because of the wins weed had in the 2016 election. Some right in Rhode Island's backyard. We've been talking about this keeping up with the Joneses thing, and it's a thing, guys. Like, when you see Colorado banging all them billions of dollars in taxes, and you're just like, well, you know, whatever. Well, Colorado's not even a big state, dude. Like, imagine if Michigan was taxing like Colorado, boy, we'd be fucking fixing roads, let me tell you, and we need it. We need them bridges fixed. So Massachusetts and Maine legalized, joining western states of Colorado, Washington, Oregon, blah, blah, blah. Now that Massachusetts has passed and made it clear the way things are headed, says Marijuana Policy Project's Mason Tvert, these guys are going to want to jump in. And of course, that's what I've been saying. The duo of Democrats behind the measure, State Senate Joshua Miller and State Rep Scott Slater, are making a proximity argument about this time around, saying that residents will simply cross the border to buy legal pot in Massachusetts, and then Rhode Island will, quote, lose significant ground in the process. So they're kind of like, remember Nebraska a couple minutes ago, and I was saying, problem, reaction, solution, man. Your people are running over to Colorado and buying tons of weed and bringing it back to your state and selling it, and then you're having to waste money enforcing your laws again. Legalize that shit, son. And guess what? Watch the fucking money coming in. Sales in Colorado topped $1 billion in 2016 for the first time, yielding more than $150 million in tax revenue for the state. Wow, that's a lot of fucking tax revenue. That usually that gets spent on prisons, right? Ain't that what they usually spend to house a bunch of weed fucking offenders for the year over at the county jail and over in the state prisons and shit? Yeah, that is. That's probably more than that. Anyway, advocates that want to legalize marijuana in the government, not just people like me on the street, but in the government, in places like Rhode Island and Maryland, have ammo now. They have real data to look at and say, look, man, the sky did not fall in Colorado, but in fact, the fucking tax revenue is awesome and crime is down. All right, what else is in here? Governor Gina Raimondo expressed openness to the idea last year, saying that she is looking at whether Rhode Island should legalize recreational marijuana. And medical marijuana has been legal in the state since 2006. So they do have, I don't know about their medical marijuana program. I haven't heard any complaints about it. I do know Maryland's medical marijuana program is shit. So maybe they have a little bit more, I think if you wanted my opinion on this race to see which legislator is going to legalize first, I will go, you're looking at 3 right now. Well, there's also Vermont, but they're talking about real small amounts. We'll get to that in a minute. But the top 3 right now are Texas, Rhode Island, and Maryland. You also have Connecticut, Vermont, who both have almost said that it's not gonna happen. I mean, they got right-wing government in play, like the new Vermont governor. He's probably not gonna allow it. But anyway, I would put it like this. I would say Rhode Island has the best chance, and then Maryland, and then maybe one of those others that I just mentioned, and then Texas probably ain't gonna happen. I'm not even gonna put that in likeliness. Sorry, Texas, I'm just not gonna do it. According to Gallup, American support for recreational pot has hit an all-time high of 60% in October, with 67% of Democrats and 42% of Republicans saying they approve. I will always emphasize that number for Republicans. Holy shit. That is the highest I've ever seen that number. 42% of Republicans say they want recreational marijuana legalized. Woo! That number is usually a little above 20, man. Like, what the fuck? Oh well, I like it. I'm happy to see that. I wish it was more, but that is a very positive thing moving forward. Raimondo, remember that's the governor, says she's in no rush to make the decision. Whatever. I don't think they're going to be the ones like Nebraska to be arresting people coming in from Maine and Massachusetts with those bags of weed. They're not going to be like, we're getting sick of arresting people coming from those legal states. They're just going to legalize it, man. No, she said, Slater, one of those Democrats. Now, both of their houses are run by Democrats. So like I said, if everybody's like, hey, this is a good idea, then it's probably just going to sail right through. But he said we've had several years to see how regulation works in Colorado and Washington, and we have learned important lessons from their experiences. This legislation represents a sensible policy reform that has been shown to work successfully in other states. And like the like the Marijuana Policy Project, they have looked at the other states. They have seen what worked, and we'll see what they put together, man. Oh, legal marijuana sales topped 5.8 billion in 2016. And the big takeaway from this is that, yeah, um, that's faster than the .com boom. The growth is faster than even the 2000s .com boom. This is Forbes talking. Uh, yeah, not much else to say, but yeah, that's a lot of money. 5.8 billion. It's one of the biggest industries in the United States right now. 5.8 billion. You got a bigger one? Name it. Yeah, exactly. You know, the automobile manufacturing is not even, I mean, it's big. It's bigger than that, but you got to add all the companies together. You got to like take into consideration that they're, I don't know, there's a lot to be said about that. We'll see. Anyway, it's huge. So it's growing. That's not where it stops, man. Like we're talking billions more every year will be added on because of the new states that have legalized, but they haven't really kicked in their laws yet, as we will see. Well, I have no idea what just happened, but some of my video might have been cut out. Whatever. We're back. Um, we're back in Massachusetts, where, like I said, several state legislators around the country are in the process of trying to basically neuter all these marijuana laws that just got passed overwhelmingly by the people. And here we have Massachusetts, where Jason M. Lewis is proposing legislation that would reduce the amount of marijuana people 21 years old could possess in their homes from 10 ounces to 2 ounces, and the number of marijuana plants people could grow from 12 per household to 6 per household. Now, Jason Lee bill would also delay when retail marijuana stores set to open in July 2018 could sell popular infused products such as pot brownies, sodas, and massage oils by at least 2 years. Now, this is ridiculous. There's no reason for that kind of caution on these products because these products are safe. They've been proven to be safe everywhere that they've been used and manufactured. The manufacturer of them is safe. These so-called pot brownies, sodas, like these things are commercially viable products that are made in tried and true places like Colorado and California and such. And they have regulations around them so that they're child proof and they're in nondescript labels or labeled as medical marijuana, appropriately so. So this would also allow regulators to prematurely ban any marijuana products besides the unadulterated plant matter itself. Such products are hugely popular. And so now that's what they did in Michigan. And for 8 years, our program did not include medibles or concentrates. That just changed, so you already see the difference, and it's just important to have marijuana available in many different forms because not everybody smokes bud, not everybody does dabs, not everybody eats a marijuana brownie. So Senator Lewis only wants you to have 2 ounces instead of 10. He thinks 10 ounces is just way too many. Yeah, I don't like it. He has a bunch of bills. Like I thought there was like 7 different bills that just he sponsored, and I'm pretty sure this guy's a Democrat. So again, people that are playing partisan politics, I'm not. I don't really give a shit. None of this shit's partisan. It's when you're talking about laws that infringe on human rights, like the right to have your medicine, then it's not a fucking partisan thing anymore. It's a human rights thing. And if you're against medical marijuana, you're against human rights. Pure and simple. what's going on here. All right. Yeah, Lewis is a Winchester Democrat who was a strong opponent of Massachusetts legalization ballot question. He said lawmakers must respect the will of the voters, but in a statement he said he is committed to the responsibility and safety of implementing a legal recreational marijuana marketplace in Massachusetts. In a short telephone interview with the Boston Globe, Lewis said voters were making their voices heard on legalizing marijuana, not the nitty-gritty details of the law or how exactly legalization should be implemented. Those specifics, he said, are the responsibility of the legislature and the executive branch. Quote, I think that when the voters voted on November 8th, they voted to make it legal and safe to possess, use, purchase, sell, and grow marijuana, including in their own home. I don't believe that people are voting on things like whether they should be able to home grow 3 plants or 6 plants or 12 plants. Yeah, they did. It was written in the fucking thing that they voted yes on, dumbass. So they were voting for 12 plants. Don't fucking tell them that they don't get 12 plants when they voted for 12 plants. Or whether the marijuana tax rate was going to be 3.7% or 5% or 12%. Yeah, they voted on that shit. Look at the fucking thing they voted on and tell me what they voted for. Don't act like they don't know what the fuck they're doing just because they voted yes on marijuana. That's not, you act like voters are just stupid. Like we don't fucking read. We read at least the ballot initiative, and in the ballot initiative, it tells you these little details that you're sitting here acting like nobody voted for. Yeah, they voted for that shit. So quit acting like you know what the fuck people voted for. You're not even a good representative if you can't even understand that. And he keeps talking about how we're going to do it right. Well, one of the reasons is because he's some kind of a new marijuana czar or some shit like that. So it behooves him to make sure that they get it right. Man, I don't know what's going on with this. National Academy of Sciences pushes for rescheduling of marijuana. DEA may believe it's harmful as heroin, but the science community is backing down on the demonizing of marijuana. National Academy of Sciences released a new report last week that reviewed 10,000 scientific abstracts and nearly 100 conclusions that found many medical uses for marijuana and cannabis-derived products. For years, the landscape of marijuana has been rapidly shifting as more and more states are legalizing cannabis for the treatment of medical conditions and recreational use, said Mary McCormick, chair of committee and the professor of pediatrics at Harvard Medical School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. We conducted an in-depth and broad review of the most recent research to establish firmly what the sciences says and to highlight areas that still need further examination. The report entitled, quote, The Health Effects of Cannabis and Cannabinoids, the Current State of Evidence and Recommendations for Research, went on to conclude that cannabis has both therapeutic value and public health risks. I don't know about that second part. What is it? Do they ever say? Probably not, because there is none. All right, the report recommends more research and noted that the classification of Schedule I drug in PEDS research and that researchers can't get the cannabis they need in order to address specific research needs. They suggested political and non-political strategies to resolve regulatory barriers to cannabis research. An objective and evidence-based analysis of cannabis policy is necessary. In other words, the report suggests rescheduling marijuana in order to determine the benefits, but also the risks of using the product. It's possible that the anti-marijuana groups need to support rescheduling marijuana in order to get studies they need to prove marijuana can be harmful. There you go. And like I was asking this study too, if you're going to say that there's public risks or that there's dangers of this shit, show me your fucking study. Tell me what the dangers are first. Well, here's the danger. If you smoke marijuana, this happens. Now, that would be a risk. You haven't given me any yet. None. You haven't given me a single risk. And then once you give me the risk, then you have to show me the study. This is the study we use to prove the fucking risk. You got none of that. There's nothing like that. That's why we keep telling you to shut the fuck up with the reefer madness. You don't have any proof of none of that shit. oh, the youth will start using blah, blah, blah. No, that's fucking false. That's the exact opposite of what the studies show. Whatever, man. I'm sick of fucking arguing with you guys. You got no risks. You got no dangers. The committee found evidence to support therapeutic uses of cannabis to treat chronic pain in adults. Yeah. For adults with MS related muscle spasms, there was a substantial evidence that short-term use of certain oral cannabinoids improved their symptoms. They also found that cannabinoids helped adults with chemotherapy-induced nausea and vomiting. The committee covered a wide range of medical situations, and in some cases noted there were moderate evidence that cannabis was effective for improving short-term sleep outcomes in individuals with sleep apnea, fibromyalgia, and chronic pain, and MS. I don't know what more you need, man. Boulder County District Attorney named Trump's Marijuana Advisory Group. Boulder County District Attorney Stan Garnett was chosen for a group that will advise the Trump administration on marijuana policies. Garnett will be part of the National District Attorneys Association. It will include 14 DAs from across the country who will issue advisements on possible law or policy changes regarding marijuana as more states legalize it. The Boulder Daily Camera reported, quote, it's a reflection of the NDAA's interest in having a fairly balanced committee which will be largely advising on what our policy position should be in communications with the Trump Justice Department, Garnett told the newspaper. Quote, I always end up on the more liberal position than anyone else, particularly on marijuana. I think one of the things that happens is that many of the people in the states where there is no legalization have a complete misunderstanding of states like Colorado. Quote, if nothing else, I'm able to say, wait a minute, this is a huge business in Colorado. It is largely supported by the editorial boards. Polls show as being very popular. And by and large, we have not seen an impact on crime rates. For somebody from Missouri or South Carolina to tell Colorado how to handle an issue of its own choice, like legalization of marijuana, is not only bad policy, but it fails to respect the importance of local control and states' rights. So it ain't all thunderstorms and tornadoes over there in Trump land. We have people in there that are going to help work this out, guys. Don't freak out yet. Back to Maryland, our favorite place to fucking point at and laugh because their medical marijuana program is fucking complete garbage. Right now, they're so busy trying to figure out what to do with that shit that all the legislators are so worried about it that they're not going to fucking do anything about this recreational thing, are they? Probably not. And let me stress again that their medical marijuana program is a result of corruption and just all out dragging the feet, you know? If someone don't get it their way, then they fucking drag their feet and then fuck it up for everybody else. Meanwhile, they're getting sued because there's no diversity in their licensing. They gave all these licenses to a bunch of rich white people who used to be fucking cops and all this shit. You know, they used to be the cops that busted you for marijuana. They used to be the judges that sentenced you to fucking life in prison for growing a few plants. Those are the people that are getting the licenses. You know, it ain't the fucking people the grassroots that fought for this shit for decades. It ain't the fucking guy from the NFL who quit the NFL because he wanted to further his understanding of medical marijuana, and he was sick of getting those head injuries and finding out that you couldn't even use medical marijuana in the NFL, even if you get the head injuries, even if you lived in a medical marijuana state. So yeah, that guy didn't get his license. He's fucking mad, and I would be too. And he's also black. So he was part of the discrimination of someone not getting a license when there was more than one black applicant. And were highly qualified too, and had the money. None of that matters though when you got corrupt bullshit going on. I'm not gonna read this shit. I pretty much told you everything. All these Democrats, they're fucking full of shit in Maryland. They want to end a failed policy of cannabis prohibition in Maryland and replace it with a more sensible system, said one of them. But the rest of them say, oh no, we need to work on our medical marijuana program. Yeah, none of them, they're all hoping lawmakers will approve legalization on their own. Yeah, the numbers are good though. 61% last fall was polled as saying they would support recreational. Yeah, and then it goes on to say that they really probably aren't going to really work on this too much. The state took until 2016 to issue preliminary license for medical cannabis growers, processors, and dispensaries, and the drug will not be available to patients until late 2017 at the earliest, amidst lawsuits and complaints over how licenses were awarded. So the lawmakers, including Senate President Thomas V. Mike Miller Jr., Democrat, said that Maryland needs to deal with the problems surrounding its medical marijuana program before taking on legalizing. And that's just the kind of stupid thing there is in Maryland. Like the Maryland police were like, hey, we're not ready for recreational marijuana, so don't do it. Oh, what does that mean? You guys aren't ready for recreational marijuana. That means you have to arrest less people. You're not ready for that yet? No, I didn't think so. House Speaker Michael E. Bush, Democrat, supported the 2014 effort to decriminalize marijuana, has been skeptical of full legalization until the kinks were worked out in Colorado and Washington. Here we go with the same excuses over and over again. Usually it's the Republicans with these talking points, but here it is, it's the Democrats. We're a little skeptical of the shit going on in Colorado and Washington. No, you're not. That was fucking more than 4 years ago. We've seen nothing but positive things come out of those places. Positive statistics, positive numbers as far as the taxes go. And then now there's people that are like, well, we want a constitutional amendment. Come on, man. Again, they're focusing on overhauling the medical marijuana program before throwing its weight behind recreational. And this is the Legislative Black Caucus of Maryland. So, hey, if you're in Maryland and you're a black guy, your fucking representatives don't give a shit about you because they already dropped the ball. Cheryl Glenn was the one that dropped the ball on the fucking license getting issued. She was in charge of issuing licenses. I did a report about it fucking last year, man. Back in August. Look it up. She fucked you over then by not giving you the football player guy who was looking for a license. Could have licensed him. He's black. Maybe he would have hired people that were black. Well, this is the Black Caucus she's still in charge of. She's no longer in charge of those licenses. But you know what? It's pretty fucking disingenuous to say that, well, we're worried about the medical marijuana program, that we fucked up. You're the ones that fucked it up. You've been fucking it up since the day it was born in 2014 or whatever, and you have never done anything good for it, and now you're acting like it's the fault of that. That's why we can't move on recreational. It's two different fucking things, man. You can chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. You can get this shit done, and you can still fix your medical marijuana program, man. The Black Caucus has proposed legalization to address the lack of racial diversity among the growers approved by the state legislation. So after she fucked that application process up and didn't pick the right people when she was on the board, now she's not on the board and she's saying we need to get a medical marijuana program up and running before we move to full-blown legalization. What? They're making laws. They're so busy hammering out a law that says you have to hire a black guy or license a black guy to do this medical marijuana thing. What the fuck is the point of doing that? Just give him a license. You don't need to write a law. Give him a license. Give somebody else that's applied for it a license and be done with it and move on with this recreational shit. So I think the Democrats in Maryland are split about half and half on wanting to move forward on this recreational thing. So the ones that aren't there, call them up, man. Knock some sense into these idiots. They act like making a move on recreational is going to take 10 years. Well, in Maryland, it fucking might. A spokesman for the Maryland Wholesale Medical Cannabis Association, a collection of authorized medical cannabis growers and processors, said the group is laser focused on the important task of providing Maryland patients access to medical cannabis. They've waited long enough. Any discussion of adult use is simply a distraction. Why is it a distraction, man? don't you go to work every day and do what you do and try to make sure that you can still do what you do tomorrow without worrying about whether they're talking about recreational marijuana or not. That's the stupidest fucking cop-out I've ever heard. Legalized marijuana takes hold in Maine. First tangible results of voters' decision to legalize marijuana being felt as possession and home growth of marijuana become legal in Maine. Don't forget, don't open a pot shop because that's not going to be legal for a while. It sounds like maybe, you're looking at delayed legislation right around January 26th, right after this law got signed by Governor LePage. Lawmakers unanimously approved legislation delaying the retail sale of marijuana until February 2018. I already did a story about that. But yeah, go smoke them if you got them, guys, and start growing them too, because you can grow weed there. And that's the best part of the law, is that you can grow your own weed. Whew. How many places have legalized marijuana and you still can't grow? I don't know, but any of those places, even especially the medical marijuana, that's not real. That's not real shit. That's not real reform. That's bullshit. Especially medical marijuana. Let my people grow. New Hampshire weighs in the latest marijuana bills on decriminalization and legalization. So in New Hampshire, lawmakers are considering several bills this session that could change the state's existing marijuana laws. House Bill 640 would reduce a penalty for 1 ounce or less to a violation. Quote, I think this is a year for decriminalization, says Matt Simon, New England political director for the Marijuana Policy Project. And that's who I'm going to trust. I'm going to take his word for it. You also have House Bill 656, which would legalize marijuana for persons 21 years and older. It would authorize retail and testing facilities and impose a sales tax. I don't know why that one would have such a big problem coming out of committee, but the committee will make the final recommendations in the coming days before the bills head to the floor for a full vote. And it's like when you get caught doing something illegal, they throw like 3 or 4 charges at you, so there's stuff to drop. Like we're gonna drop this one and go with that one. Plead guilty to this and misdemeanor, and we'll drop the felony. And that's what they're doing here. They got your decriminalization, and then maybe a medical thing that helps their program a little bit, and then one that's legalized marijuana for 21 and up. It's not going to get passed. Governor Snyder signs a bill to let landlords bar marijuana in rentals. Is this legal? People have been asking me that. I don't know if it's legal or not. It's a done deal. I guess go ahead and start taking people to court and challenging this shit. You do live in a right-wing stranglehold called Michigan, where if this thing makes it all the way to the Michigan Supreme Court, they're going to laugh at it just like they would at the local level. So, I don't know, maybe you got a cool judge in your local area and you can sue your landlord, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, come on. If your landlord didn't like you smoking or growing weed already, it probably was already a really bad relationship that you were having, and you probably don't want to really live under that landlord's rule. Having said that, the law enacted Tuesday adds another exception to the 2008 voter-approved law that legalized the use of medical marijuana. The law already does not require insurers to reimburse people for medical marijuana, nor does it mandate that employers accommodate employees' use of the drug for medical purposes. The bill's sponsor, Rick Jones of Grand Ledge, says 2 rental homes in his district were destroyed after they were turned into greenhouses to grow marijuana without permission. He says growing marijuana for medical purposes doesn't trump safety or private property rights. Now, while I agree with all that, I think that should, the tenants should have got the okay, or at least figured it out, And I don't know. It's really hard to go on this because marijuana growing in Michigan for caregivers and patients that can grow their own cannabis, it's a residential situation, so you should be able to grow your personal amount of plants at the very minimum. Now, should you be able to be a caregiver and run like a giant garage full of plants or whatever? I don't really think that should be allowed, or that should be assumed. That should be something maybe you should talk to your landlord about. I don't know. Roger Goodell, the NFL would be open to changing marijuana policies. Goodell said he would love to engage the NFL Players Association in the discussion. It's unclear how extensive those talks would be, but Goodell also opened the door to discuss other plans as well. The head of the NFL Players Association, Demetrius Smith, talks about it as though there should be no penalty for marijuana whatsoever. He specifically stated that he felt recreational marijuana use should be an act that, as a whole, is less punitive. Smith specifically talked about the depression and its link to the head injuries and the NFL. He suggested that marijuana could be a reliable medical option for players dealing with injuries and pain management. The league and the NFL Players Association have jointly agreed on changes to the collective bargaining agreement. Now, this is pretty important because I've been hearing and looking and seeing these stories all year, last year, all year, starting this year already. And the NFL has heard it too. The Players Association is very active in this front. They've been fighting for the use of medical marijuana, especially in states where it's legal, since the 90s. And I'm glad to see the the commissioner of the NFL. Hard to believe that you would see them come around, but they're listening, and it's because, again, I say a lot, medical marijuana works. With these head injuries, there's nothing else that works better. What are you going to do? You're going to get a head injury. Marijuana is something that helps by, it's proven that the cannabinoid system is the most important thing you can do to activate something against an injury like a head injury. What else are you going to do? You're going to throw Vicodins at the guy after he just got his head injured? Give him a hit of nitrous oxide? I've seen him do that. No, that shit is not helping. That shit is hurting because it just makes you numb, and it doesn't help and aid in the healing process at all. Whereas the cannabinoids do, and it's science. It's a fact. It's provable. This thing about throw some Vicodins and a hit of nitrous at somebody, that's garbage. It's not science. There's no fucking proof that does anything but fuck you up. So, good deal. Vermont House bill would legalize small amounts of marijuana. So here we go again. A bill has been proposed in the Vermont House that would make it legal for adults to possess and grow small amounts of marijuana. The proposal would move all civil and criminal penalties for adult possession of up to 2 ounces of marijuana for the cultivation of a total of 2 mature marijuana plants and 7 immature plants. You want to talk about some low numbers there. The bill is introduced by Democratic reps Maxine Grad of Moortown and Charles Conquest of Newbury, and Republican Representative Thomas Burdett of West Rutland. Under state law, possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana is a civil violation that carries up to a $200 fine. Possessing 1 to 2 ounces could result in up to 6 months in jail. That's their decriminalization that they've had in place since I believe it was 2012 or 14 when Shumlin took over. And he was behind some decriminalization that happened then, and it doesn't look that, I'm not impressed, basically. But good luck, Vermont, with that weird little legalization law there that you're trying with. And man, that is it. That's the summary for January of 2017. The busiest month in marijuana news I think I've ever fucking seen in my life, man. Like, there's all these people that are afraid of the Jeff Sessions or the Donald Trump administration. Meanwhile, all these actions are happening all over the country. You got decriminalization, medical marijuana laws, and recreational marijuana laws being written, talked about, discussed, debated, and voted on in state legislatures from coast to coast. So there you go. I don't know what everybody's afraid of. All I'm afraid of is that, there's some states that are going to be left behind. They already are. There's some states that don't have CBD laws, as you've heard me say this hour. We got to change that shit. It's going to have to take Herculean efforts of people calling their representatives and getting this shit right. Support the Marijuana Policy Project. Look them up. See what they're talking about in your state. And see how you can help legalize marijuana in your state or in your area. See how you can change the laws for the better, no matter what they are. Because while we're not doing anything, even as places like Massachusetts and these other states that have just legalized marijuana, like Arkansas, you have people in them states, Democrats and Republicans alike, that are trying to write laws to circumvent those laws that the people have passed with overwhelming majorities. So call them directly. I gave you their names, or look them up. I mean, it's not that hard to figure out what's going on in your state. Marijuana is one of the most written about topics in politics today. So it's not that hard to find these articles. Look them up, figure out what's going on in your area, and start fighting this shit. Man, this fight ain't going to happen on its own. And these state legislators aren't going to fucking do anything for you. I don't care if they're Democrats or Republicans. Neither of them give a fuck about marijuana being legal. And I stand by that.